Are you struggling to advance your career and sacrificing time with your loved ones because of endless to-dos, low energy, and just not enough time in the day? If so, then this podcast is for you. I am your host, Dr. Anh Sung, an ER, critical care, and space doctor, a peak performance coach, real estate investor, and a mother of a toddler. I'm here to guide you on mastering your mind and give you the essential skills to achieve peak performance. So welcome to Productivity MD, where you can learn to master your time and achieve the 5 freedoms in life. Hello, welcome to Productivity MD podcast. I am your show host, Dr. Anh Sung. Today, I have Dr. Dianah Lake here. She is a certified emergency medicine doctor who travels for locums, and she is a founder of Dr. Di Fitness, also a mom of 2 boys with special needs. And the reason why I wanted to bring her on is because I wanted to show, no matter how busy we are, no matter what life throws at us, how can we prioritize our health and just stop saying, no, I don't have time for self-care, my health and my fitness. So that's why I really wanted to talk to her. So thank you again, Dr. Di, for coming on. Would you tell the audience a little bit in detail about yourself and why do you do what you do currently?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Dianah Lake, as she said. And so what I do basically is I work with physician women, dentists, veterinarians, pharmacists, women in healthcare and other, high-level professions that are very much like me, right? You have your job, you have your home that you're managing, you've got children possibly, you've got a love life, you've got ailing parents, you've got all these things, right? Different hats that you're filling, different roles. And sometimes we tend to, keep our own needs on the back burner and we're giving, and then we suffer. So what I do is I support professional women to start to bring their own health and wellness and self-care to the forefront of their lives so that they're in such a better position to do all the other things that they do. So that's in a nutshell what I do. I help you prioritize your health and fitness so that you're able to come from a better, a healthier place in all the other roles that you serve.
And so just tell me a little bit about why people should care, because, people are busy. They have kids to take care of. They often, yes, like you said, put the family ahead of themselves. Down the line, why should they actually care about this? What can motivate them to actually begin to take action to say that this is a non-negotiable?
Oh my gosh, great question. So if you really think about your longevity, right? What your lifespan and how it's going, you really want to start thinking about how do you want to feel when you're 70, 80? Like, do you want to be that person that's on 20 medications, right? Or do you want to be that vibrant 80-year-old playing tennis? That's going to be me, by the way. Right? Do you want to be that? You've seen these ladies, right? You've seen, I play tennis. When I go to the court, I'm like, I'm going to be just like her. And they are vibrant and they look happy. They've spent their time well in a way that they have actually created a lifestyle for themselves that they enjoy, right? So what's in it for you is enjoyment of the things that brings you happiness, that brings you joy, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel vibrant in your body, right? If you're not focusing on your health and fitness, you're going to more than likely be tired, fatigued, right? You're going to have chronic inflammation from the foods you're eating. That's, making your gut health not be optimized, right? And if your gut health is not optimized, then you're prone to get illnesses, right? Because about 70% of your immune cells are in your gastric system, right? In your GI tract. So all the pieces connect, right? Imagine your health and fitness part of this house that you're keeping up, which is your lifestyle. And you've got these pillars, right? That are keeping this lifestyle together, keeping your house up and stable, right? So if pieces of those pillars are breaking apart, you can visualize that the house is not going to stand very long, right? So that's how I like to present it, that analogy of all the pillars that are keeping your house stable, right? Or your mental wellness, your physical wellness, your rest, right? Resting your brain, like do nothing, right? Create space for nothingness, right? Create space for just resting your body so you can actually do all the things it's supposed to do when you're in that recovery and restoration mode. So, what's in it for you is showing up for yourself in a way that allows you to live the life you want. So, ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to feel in my body? And then who do I need to be able to create that? We're creators as human beings. We create whatever we want, right? So you can start asking yourself, how do I need to show up differently to be this new version of me that I want? Right? So that's what's in it for you, is becoming this higher level of yourself. That's, you're getting things done, right? That needs to be done for work. You're getting things done for your health, which you're telling your patients to do. Yes, you are. But possibly not knowing yourself, right? So that's what's in it for you. So many people come to me with this exact thing. I feel like a hypocrite. I'm telling my patient to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing it, right? A lot of us have that experience, that we're not walking our talk. So that's what's in it for you. You get to walk your talk. You get to live your message that you're giving to your patients, right? You get to be the poster child of health and wellness, which is what you're telling them to do, right? So now you get to be the embodiment of it, and it feels amazing.
Yeah, I
Don't you want
think
to feel amazing?
there's a multiple factor. There's so many factors. Like if it's not just your number one, your health is your wealth. That's what I often say, that without your health, if you've been injured, if you've been temporarily disabled, if you've had a fracture or even a sprain,
Right.
I mean, even like normal activities of daily living after a delivery can be super painful. So, you really realize the little things that really matter in your health. So do it for that reason. At the same time, you
Yes.
could do it for others, for your patients, to have energy to spend with your kids, to have energy to, have fun adventures with your spouse,
Yes.
perhaps. And then,
It ripples out. When
mhm,
you become a healthier human being, everyone who experiences you gets a better version of you, right? Like you said, you have now more energy to spend with your partner. You have more energy to run around with your kids at the park, and you're not exasperated after 5 minutes, right? A lot of my clients come to me with these stories, right? I can't tie my shoes because my belly is in the way. I can't follow my kid at the playground because I'm short of breath after 5 minutes. These are things that are real for people. So become more functional in your body. Basic things that are becoming a problem will no longer be a problem. If you're one of my clients said she was surrounded with her medical students and residents. They went up 2 flights of stairs. At the top, she thought she was going to die. She was like, I had no idea I was that unfit, right? She's like, or whatever the word is, out of shape, right? She was like, I had no idea 2 flights damn near killed me. And everybody walked off, and she had to stand there and get herself together, because after 2 flights of stairs, she was like literally gasping for air.
wow.
Right? Yes. And she's like, all of them just took off like it was nothing. Yeah, because I mean, they're younger, right? They're medical students and residents. They're in the prime of their lives. They can run up 2 flights and go in the snow. She's there like, oh my God, I'm about to die. And that was the moment for her. Like, I've got to do something about this. Right. So for a
Yeah.
lot of us, some of us need to have that moment where we're like, I cannot bend over to tie my shoes. That's a problem. Right. Or I'm short of breath after 2 flights of stairs. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking that functional things that you could do normally is becoming a problem, it's really time, right? To start focusing on you and your wellness so that everyone around you gets to experience that higher level that you can get to.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with right now. I'm like 39 and 4 days now. It's hard to tie my shoes. It's hard to run around with my own son in the playground. So I have a temporary sense of what that feels like, and it doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. Like I feel like it's unsafe. Sometimes I can't be alone with him in the playground, or I have to cut things short because I can't run up and down so
Right.
fast in the playground with him
And
currently.
you don't want
And
him to be in an area where something happens and you can't reach,
right,
and things like that,
right.
because there's a safety issue there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if
So
it's
these
not for
are
your health,
real
it's
functional things we're talking about. This is not, oh, I want to be in a hot bathing suit. Yeah, that's great too. We want that too, right? To be able to feel sexy and confident, feeling confident in your body. I cannot tell you, Anne, how many women hide behind their white coat. They don't take it off at all. They put it on in the car. Like before they get out and walk into the hospital, they hide behind that white coat. They don't ever take it off because it's protecting them, right? People can't see the rolls. People can't see whatever they feel in their mind is an unhealthy appearance for them is hidden behind that white coat.
and what would you say then, if people do decide to change right now, how long does it take? What kind of frequency are we talking about? And what end result can they achieve? Or, what can they feel, after a certain period of time? What's the difference that you've
Good
seen with your
question.
clients?
And a lot of people always want to know how long is it going to take? And always I say, how long did it take you to gain the 50 pounds? Right? I mean, it's not going to be magic. Let's be realistic, right? We're in this microwave world where everything must be instant, right? But true transformation of your health and wellness takes a lot of mindset mastery. It takes a lot of shifting of the way you see yourself, right? The negative self-talk, the inner critic stuff, the unlearning of things that society says we should be doing. There's so much that you have to unpack. So if you start from that place that this is going to be a process, right? Then you can get, less anxious about the time and you can say, I'm in this, for the long haul, right? I'm going to do what it takes, to get to that goal. On average, most of the women who work with me lose a pound a week if it's weight loss they're coming for, right? So, in 20 weeks, you could be down 20, 25 pounds, right? That's 5 months. And that's if you're not that's just organically doing the behavioral modification changes that I'm going to recommend for your movement, your meals, hydration, sleep, stress management, time management, all the things, right? They're all these pillars, like I said before. So you want to be managing your pillars, all the things that are going to be part of your overall wellness, right? It's not just eating well and going to exercise. It's managing your stress. It's managing your sleep. I cannot tell you how much sleep plays a role in our fitness. Our muscles tone when we sleep. Growth hormone, our fountain of youth hormone, is produced during sleep, right? All of our organs are doing their self-cleaning thing during sleep, right? So if you're not getting enough rest, you're shooting yourself in the foot for the fitness part. You could go to the gym 7 days a week, but if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, or your one thing could be 10 out of 10, but if the other things are like 3 or 4 out of 10, it's off or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you want to have a general sense that this is going to be a process. If I'm focused on weight loss, 1 pound a week is a decent goal, assuming that I'm doing the work, right? Because it's one thing to hear it and know it, is another thing to implement.
Yeah, I agree. And
Right?
another thing with sleep is when you don't get enough sleep, you increase your cortisol. When you increase your cortisol, you essentially increase your insulin, and then you increase your insulin, you increase your
Oh, you
fat.
just go down this rough cascade, right? Metabolic cascade that's not working in your favor. And the next thing is you start to make choices that next day when you're sleep deprived that are not helpful. You're going to be going for the salty foods, the sweet foods, the comforting foods. You're not going to be using your prefrontal cortex, right, to make decisions. Your primal brain will be running the show, right? Because you're annoyed, you're groggy, you're not a nice person when you don't get enough rest. So it's like the whole thing just doesn't work for you, right? So when I tell people what to expect, I give them the bigger picture. I say, we're doing this for your life. This is a longevity game. right? So I give them the time frame of the 1 pound a week if that's what they're here for. Some people don't even want to lose weight when they come to work with me. They want to build their strength. They want more energy. They want to, tone and sculpt. They're fine with their weight. So it's not always about weight loss, right? So depending on what their goals are, I'll let them know what the expectations are time-wise around that. And then I tell them what we're doing here is a forever game. You're now creating new ways of being that you're going to take with you moving forward. So the practices we build here is something that that's just who you are now, right? This is not a fad. This is not for the moment. This is who I am moving forward. This is how I sleep now. This is how I eat now. It doesn't matter if I'm on vacation, wherever. I'm implementing these things with little tweaks here and there. You were talking about offline, we were talking about the 80-20 rule, right? So yeah, you learn how to live in that 80% of consistency, and you give yourself the grace, and you build in your indulgences as part of the deal. If you want your wine, the wine is on the list. Nothing's off the table. That's the beautiful thing about how I do this. Nothing is off the table. The key is, what is the cadence? How frequently do you do it? Right? If you're mastering your meals and you have a glass of wine, it's really not a big deal. Right? Or you have a piece of cheesecake. Again, not a big deal. But it's the frequency. How often is that happening? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we talk about it so there's no guilt around it at all. Because women will guilt themselves in a minute. We are good for that. So we work on all those things, working it in a way that you're not, there's no self-beration about it. You just add in the treats, the indulgences. It's part of your plan. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I think that leads into my next question then, that I wonder, because I was going to ask you, foundationally, are there 3 things that they must avoid? It doesn't sound like there is. I'm just curious. It doesn't have to be food either, but I'm curious. Are there 3 things they must avoid foundationally, and 3 things must start now?
Okay, great question. So if I had to do 3 things to avoid, the biggest one is sugar. The biggest one is such an addictive chemical in our bodies, right? So if you can master the sugar game, not saying don't eat it at all, but master it in a way that the ultra processed foods come off your plate, right? The ultra processed things. So like your sugary drinks, right? Your sodas, your Starbucks drinks. Oh, that people don't like that one. when I give them the homework to go and look up their favorite Starbucks drink and see how much sugar. Some of them have 70 grams of added sugar. And the recommendation per day is 50 grams. So if your one drink has 60 something grams or 70 grams of added sugar, you're done for the day when it comes to sugar. Think about it. Right? So think about if you're having that macchiato, I don't even know the names of the drinks.
Frappuccino, macchiato.
Right. Frappuccino or whatever they're called. I usually just get my green tea when I go. Green tea. That's it. Maybe I get one of the little refresher drinks, but I'm very mindful about the sugar. So if I had to pick 3 things, the sugar is the one, right? That we would be watching really closely, and minimizing alcohol. Right? Alcohol is another sugary source. Alcoholic drinks are sugary, right? Especially the mixed drinks, right? They add all the simple syrup and all the, things in there. That's all straight sugar, right? So for every gram of alcohol you consume, you get 7 calories you have to burn off, right? And it makes you feel full. That's why alcoholics, when they come into the emergency department, we have to actually give them the banana bag, right? We give them vitamins and things because they're usually malnourished, right? Because of all the alcohol that they drink. So they get that big belly, the bloating, it messes up your gut health and all of that. So the alcohol, right? So alcohol would be the second one. Sugar, alcohol has sugar too, but the alcohol is in its own category, right? And then the third thing that I would say really you want to avoid is major stressors, right? Like major, we all will have stress off and on, right? And remember, cortisol is a good thing if it comes in spurts, right? If our body makes cortisol in a stressful situation, very short term, it actually helps us. But if you're chronically in stress mode, so many of us are, right? We're chronically in survival, like I gotta do this, I gotta like chronically anxious, chronically stressed out, chronically sleep deprived. You know what I mean? If you're in that chronic mode of stress, not only is your insulin just deranged, your cortisol's deranged, your food decisions, right? The decisions for what you're going to eat is going to be based on your emotions, right? And if you're emotionally eating, you're eating that way because you want to shift your mood, right? You want to eat something that's going to make you not feel sad, not feel fatigued, not feel disappointed, not feel whatever that negative energy is, you want to shift it, so you eat. But if you found a better way to manage the stress, then you start to look for other ways for feeling good and not with food, right? So those would be my three: managing the stress, reducing the alcohol, and drastically reducing the sugar. That will clean your meal plan so well just by doing those things.
Yeah, I think I very commonly I hear, they don't snack at home or they don't stress eat at home, but they would do it in the hospital. And then the hospital, what would you say to somebody, somebody who's lots of candy, the nurse's station, cookies, whatever, and they always bring those things. And they
in the ER too.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's very hard to resist when you're stressed in the hospital. What is I mean, they've tried like maybe counting the amount that they eat. That doesn't work. Once they start, they just like, go.
Yes.
They're like, I already started, so I'm just gonna. It's the day's ruined. I'm curious, what would you advise
and that's
that
the thing. That's the great thing you just mentioned. The day's ruined. The day is not ruined. These 5 minutes are ruined, right? It's a whole different mindset. Don't put the day into it. The day has nothing to do with it. This moment is ruined. The rest of the day could still be good if you choose it to be. Right? So that's why we do so much mindset mastery in my program, because you have to unlearn all these little phrases you tell yourself. Oh, I screwed up here now, so the day is ruined. No, it doesn't have to be. You can totally turn this thing around. You can sit with yourself and acknowledge what has happened and say, okay, that didn't go too well. And I call myself out all the time. And when you're calling yourself out and you're staying in integrity with your word, listen, I said I was going to do this. I know this day hasn't started great, but I said I was going to, make this commitment to myself. I'm going to stay in integrity with my word. So we're going to turn this thing around, right? So the way you speak to yourself really has it plays a lot into how the day goes. Right? If you focus on the winning and you focus on the positive and you focus on that didn't go so great, but how can I show up now? How can I show up differently now so that the rest of this day actually goes well? Right? So let's just use the example of the pizza. That's the thing in the ER. They always buy pizza. I've been doing this 21 years, so I had to come up with a way to deal with it, right? It's like, okay, they're doing it again. You can't stop people from buying pizza or bringing chocolate or whatever. So you have to really create a practice for yourself where you're staying on course, even with it in that you can see it right there in the box. But you get to a point where you either decide, I'm going to have a couple of slices and that's it. I'm making a decision to do this. This is not, I'm giving in, right? I'm making a decision. I'm going to do this today. Right? And you do it. And then you say what the consequence of that's going to be. What am I going to do to counter it? Am I going to go do a workout? Am I going to do a longer workout? Whatever you're going to do to balance that out. Right? Or you can choose to say, this is not in my plan. Right? I know I'm stressed right now. And that will be the thing I would typically go to. Right? That's that primal brain running again to the brain reward system. It wants the dopamine surge. Right? It wants the quick fix. It wants the thing that, is going to make you feel good instantaneously. But when you train yourself, which is something I've had to do and all of my clients get to do, is you train yourself to say, here's the situation again where I've self-sabotage. call yourself out. This is a situation where I will self-sabotage and screw up my plan for today. I'm choosing not to do that. That is a win, right? You check that off as a win, because normally that would be something you would just, you would see it there and you would say, my day is ruined. I'm going to eat 3 more anyway. But when you start this practice of checking in with yourself, when you start this practice of calling yourself out on your behavior that got you into this situation in the first place, right? And you start being in more integrity with yourself and saying, I have a commitment to me. This is the thing I said I was going to do. This is the thing I said I was not going to do. Here's the test, right? I'm in it now, real world, right? And every time you do it and you win, you come into the group and you say, I had a win today. I normally would, had 3, cookies or 10 cookies or whatever. The nurses brought this stuff in. I didn't have any of it. And we cheer you on, like we do the whole little accountability loop, right? And you come in and you share your win, that you did this thing that was hard. It's hard because you've been doing it all your life, right? So now to unlearn a behavior or to stop doing something you've been doing for so long, so easily, it's not, it's a hard thing. But every time you do it, you give yourself a win. And you start trusting yourself more. And you start saying, I can do this. I just did it yesterday. Right? So when you see the next box of pizza, you're like, it's okay. I didn't have it yesterday. I don't need it today. So you start having better conversations with yourself to not give in to the indulgences. You make your indulgences be planned. Right?
And what
I'm
if
going
you
to
do
dinner
give
with my
in?
husband. Huh?
If
The
you
ones
do
that you
give
give in,
in,
make them be planned. Yes, I'm going to dinner with my husband. I'm going to have that cheesecake. I'm going to have that whatever. You make it be planned. Like you're planning to have it. It's part of the deal. Right? And I'm going to make sure I get my...
What if they fail, like the discipline portion? Like what if they actually, it wasn't planned and they fail it? What is the self-talk that is appropriate?
Okay. No. Good question. So it wasn't planned. You're out with friends. That's the other thing about emotional eating. It can be positive emotions that bring the eating on too. It's not always negative emotions that make you overeat. You can overeat because you're sad, disappointed, angry, frustrated, mad, or you can overeat because you're celebrating. We're at a dinner party. Everybody's drinking. Of course, I'm going to have the 3rd glass of wine, right? Or of course, I'm going to go and have the whatever cake or whatever. You're in the celebratory mode. And so you overeat, you overindulge, you overeat just like you would if you were in that sad mode. So both can be true, right? So let's say you do that and you're at a party, you went a little overboard. Then basically the conversation now is going to be, number 1, let's acknowledge that this has happened, right? Don't try to pretend like blame it on someone else or whatever. You were the one putting the drink to your mouth, right? So you have to own that. You have to own it. You have to call yourself out. Okay, this is what happened. It wasn't part of the deal. You have that conversation with yourself. You give yourself grace. You say, okay, what have I done well today, right? This particular moment did not go well, but we're not going to dwell in it. Other things went really well today. I finished my charts. I got the kid to school on time. So you go back into that mode of let's focus on the positive. We're acknowledging that this thing here didn't work, right? But I'm not going to go down this spiral with it because I know that never serves me, right? Because then I'm just going to overeat some more and, be disappointed in myself. And then it just spirals out, right? So you can acknowledge that it didn't go well and then make a plan for how are you going to change that for the next day or the remainder of the evening. What can I do differently? Maybe moving forward, I'm going to just have some water with lemon. I can still socialize. I don't need to have the 4th drink. I don't need to have the 3rd piece of cake, right? I'm going to shift right in this moment. I've had a little more than I wanted to, but right now I'm going to have some water or some tea or, something else and still continue to enjoy the experience of communicating and connecting with people, but really take my focus off the food now. Let me put my focus on engaging with people and having the social connection, the social engagement, right? And so that's how you can shift that in that moment, is basically acknowledging you've had this moment. It was great. You enjoyed it. But now it's time to shift, right? It's time to shift, get back on track. And then maybe that next day, you really go hard with your movement. You're really on point with your macros. Then, like the next couple of days, clean it up. Right? Take your probiotics, right? Because you know you're going to be bloated from all that sugar and alcohol. You're going to look like you're 7 months pregnant, right? Because the bad gut bacteria is going to kick in, and you're just going to feel icky. That's that post-party mode, right? You don't feel good. So anticipate it's coming. Take your probiotics to protect your gut, hydrate really well, get moving again, so you just literally try to make up.
Yeah, essentially be kind to yourself in terms of the self-talk. And then it's the average of everything that you're doing. So don't have negative self-talk just because of one moment or one night, and appreciate that the connection that you had as well. And I definitely want to touch on, how you were able to prioritize everything. You mentioned that, with your family situation, with your kids. Can you just tell us a little bit of how you were actually able to prioritize your fitness with everything that's going on? Because this is a peak performance productivity podcast, where they're like top 3 tactics that you use that was able to allow you to do that.
Yes. Okay. So let me give them a little bit of background. So my fitness journey started way back 2012. I was going through a divorce. My youngest son was 15 months. So just imagine you have a 15-month-old and a 5-year-old, you're going through a divorce, and you've recently lost your dad, right? So there's a lot of things that you're mourning. You're mourning the loss of the marriage. All these things are going on. And during the separation, we find out our youngest son is on the autism spectrum. So now that's a new diagnosis. So if you guys can imagine, I was at a really low place emotionally. So the emotional eating was woof, like through the roof, right? Feeling really pitiful and in this place that was really not healthy. And so one of my girlfriends who was visiting me that day said, I was like in a mess, right? Emotional mess. And she's like, let's go for a run. And I was not a runner. I was like, girl, I do not run. She's like, okay, let's just go and walk, right? She would do these, runs and things. That was her thing. So I was like, okay, fine. Anything to get me out of the house, So we went and we did 2 miles. I remember this so vividly because it was the turning point for me. And we did 2 miles. It was like a run, walk, run, walk, run, walk. And the exhilaration I felt when I got home, oh my God. I was like, I want that every day. You know how doctors are. We get like geeky about things. Once something works, like we want to take into the umpteenth degree. I was like, I need that in my life. I need that. And I love how I feel. When do we go again? Right? So that feeling for me was like, I can do anything if I'm feeling this good. Right? So my fitness became priority because it pulled me out of this negative energy I was in, and it allowed me to get some clarity. Just being out doing the runs, clarity, right? So that's the thing that started for me, was being able to have, the mental clarity, and then say, what else do I need to feel well? Right? What else do I need to feel well? I know I need to eat better, right? And so then I started focusing on my meals. And as I told you, we like to go all the way. So I ended up doing a bodybuilding competition. And at that point I was 42. I'm 49 now. Yeah. So I did a bodybuilding competition, and that also brought discipline, right? To be able to do that and get on the stage. So I'm giving you all of this to say, when you are in that low place, you really have to think about, what do you need to be well? right? So think for yourself, is it support? Is it, rest? Is it movement? Right? So the thing that for it'll be something different from person to person, but ask yourself, what do I need right now to be well? Right? What do I need? Ask yourself that question. Is it sleep? Is it movement? Do you need to cry it out? Like, what is it that you need? Then what I would say the top 3 things would be is really managing your movement, getting up every hour on the hour, whether it's just to move around the office, move around the clinic, whatever your industry is that you're in, move, keep moving every hour on the hour, because sedentary lifestyle, they're saying now, is almost as bad as smoking, right? So be active. First thing. The second one is managing your eating habits, right? Anti-inflammatory meal plan, really reducing the inflammation in your body, because diseases start from inflammation, right? The first start is inflammation before it progresses into a disease. So if you're really reducing the inflammation in your body by reducing the toxins you're introducing into your body, that's going to support you, right? The other piece is stress management. I'm going back to the stress management again, right? Because the stress is like a silent killer. The stress is causing your blood pressure to go up. The stress is causing your anxiety to go up. The stress is causing poor food decision-making. The stress is causing poor sleep, right? The stress is causing weight gain. The stress is causing depression. Like, the stress is the source for so many other things. So if you can imagine going to therapy, whatever you need, life coaching, to deal with the stressors and find solutions, you're on your way, right?
Yeah.
So managing the stress, managing what you're putting into your body, and managing your movement.
So, as a summary, it sounds like the top 3 to avoid is sugar, alcohol, avoiding stress, and top 3 to do is actually managing your stress to the lowest level, plus movement, any sort of movement on the hour, every hour. And then number 2 is an anti-inflammatory diet. And, typically what I tell people a lot of times is, because there's so many different types of diets, if you don't feel good after eating it, then it's not good for you, typically. If you feel great after eating it.
That's a good one. If it makes you feel bloated, if it makes you feel so fatigued, and that's why I love the concept of macros. So if you understand your macros, most of the women, actually all of the women that I'm working with, have a macros plan, parameters that they follow. How many grams of carbs per day? How many grams of protein per day? How many grams of fat per day? Looking at your sugar content, your fiber, all these things. So start learning about your nutrition. We don't learn about nutrition very well in medical school. I remember having one class in nutrition that was like, not even a whole semester. I think it was several weeks, So we don't learn much about nutrition. So make it your business to understand food and start creating a healthy relationship with food, where you're using it to nourish your body, to fuel your movements, to fuel your workouts. And you're looking at it in a positive way. And there's no negative, like guilt around eating. I think that would really support a lot of people to be able to do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. If you can, without understanding where you currently are, it will be difficult for you to change. And I'm curious, so if people want to find out, because you talked about, the woman that you coach, the macros. So what exactly do you offer in terms of your coaching? What type of resources do you offer, and where can people find you? Because I know we talked about a lot, but that's really just like the surface of it.
Yes. It's the surface. But I think it gives people the problem awareness, right? They're now aware of things that are possible for them, right? Okay, I can actually do something about this. I can actually do something about my meals, my movement, my mood, my sleep, my thoughts, right? So the way you can find me, Dr. Di Fitness, DRDI, and then fitness, FITNESS. That's my Facebook public page. And I'm on Instagram as well. What are the other ones? I think that's pretty much it. I don't do TikTok yet. Maybe I should. I don't know. But Facebook and Instagram. I have a fitness coaching program that is 5 months and 10 months, and you can choose one based on what your goals are. So for someone who maybe say they're focused on losing less than 30 pounds, right? I would have them do the 5 month program. Someone with a much bigger goal would do the 10 month program. And in the program, they have a course, a fitness transformation course that I've created, which gives you up to 35 hours of CME, continuing medical education credits. So they get that. So they can actually use their CME to pay for it, the CME allowance to pay for it. They can use their HSA, all those things to pay for it. But that's in the program, they get the course, they get accountability partners, they get one-on-one coaching, they get group coaching. A lot of the things we do is focus around mindset mastery, their nutrition, their movement, their stress management, their time management, all those things, and making them more productive in their lives so that they show up more powerfully in all the roles that they have to play.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing the resource, drdivefitness.com.
Yes.
So I would
No, it's just
definitely,
Dr. Di Fitness. It's a Facebook page
uh,
and it's just Dr. Di Fitness.
okay, got it. And then they will find you where the course information is going to be on there.
Yes. So if they go on Dr. Di Fitness, there's a way for them to make an appointment. If they wanted to do a free consultation with me, they can set it up from there.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And I know the audience is, I mean, I think we simplified it down, and especially the mindset, the action. So after this, just take one action. You don't have to do all six. It's okay. But just do one. Just make a commitment to change your identity for one, and then just let the momentum go. So again, Dr. Dai, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom, your experience with all of the clients. Really, really appreciate your insights here.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah, thank you. And remember to the audience that everything we talked about, all the resources, it's going to be in the show notes at productivitymd.com. And that remember, everything we need is already within us now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Disclaimer: this content is for general information purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information linked to this content is at the user's own risk. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical conditions they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. The views are personal views only and do not represent any university or government institution.